What we have put together is a collaborative project, an experience, really an immersive experience for students from Antwerp and Helsinki, Aalto University, St. Lucas in Antwerp, and also the Royal Academy, and 2 students from Ringling College of Art and Design.
You have to produce something in 1 week. That's fast, that's really fast. You have to have visualization, visual images, visual plans.
We wanted to do a project that involved the community and not us, that we weren't going to be the artist, but the community was going to be the artist, and we wanted to do a project to help the community, you know, to bring it together, because the project is focused on the Rosemary district and 5 Points.
5 Points was the epicenter of Sarasota. It's actually where the settlers made the first marker. Rosemary district has had a very interesting history as well. So it's an area that's constantly changing. It has a rich history, has environmental issues, social issues that have shaped the way the neighborhood has evolved.
We were inspired by the first man who planted the flag in here, founded Sarasota, and now we're going into the community and asking people if they want to make their own flag, if they want to write something on it. That's really special to them, that's connecting them to this place.
By doing this, well, our idea is this is going back to the mapping again, and so we're mapping people and experiences.
Each culture has its own way of looking at things, and that's part of what the richness of the project is how all those faculty and students will be bringing that to bear on each site.
They just wanted people from over the world to connect in one common thing, and that is art.
You have the contrast of the very wealthy people and the low-income people, the homeless, people that live on the streets. And they're right next to each other. So we wanted to bring them together into one community, you know, make them more unified. We just had each person do a flag and, you know, do an expression of what the Rosemary district it is for them.
There's been a lot of talk about how to actually create the space to be more than just like pictures on the wall and stuff.
We invited people from home, but they can't come here. So you're thinking like a live feed with the webcam, if that might be possible.
That's easy.
It's an immersive learning experience, so we felt living together, since they were going to be living together, the sharing the meals is very important. The type of conversation that happens over a meal is different than maybe a formal meeting or critique, things like that.
It took place during the Thanksgiving break, and one of the teachers, he really likes to cook. And he cooked all the food, and some of the other students helped to do the food. The teachers came to the house, and we had a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner. We were giving thanks. We were about, you know, all this opportunity that we have to work together, getting to know each other, you know, apart from the project.
I'm thankful that this project just made me aware that what I want to do with the community, with designing the community and art is the right thing to do.
I'm very thankful for Eva for today. That kind of saved everything.
You saved the dinner.
We saved the dinner, she saved me. That's good, yeah.
I especially would like to thank Tom, the Melody, here at Ringling, who have made this possible for us with the incredible enthusiasm and energy that you put into realizing this wonderful week for us. Thank you very much.
At the end of the week, we had a show at the Rosemary district with all the photographs and the quotes that people said during their interviews. We had sounds of what the people said. We had photos of the flags, and we had a whole map showing where each flag was located. and who put them there. And people from the community, from the school, they all came over, and it was great. Community came together, and what it was so great about this whole thing, after everything was done, we had a caterer and there was food, but at the end there was a lot of food left, so we didn't want this food to be thrown away, and we took it to homeless people who live like 2 streets away from where we were. And we just took it and we were just giving out food to everyone. They were all so happy. They were coming to us, oh, thank you so much. And so we felt even closer to this community. It was amazing, like the feeling to just go there and go personally and help them. It was great.
We went over to Antwerp and established this relationship with St. Lucas Art College, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. And that was set up by Philip Halen, the mayor, vice mayor of culture for Antwerp, and he's one of several mayors. So he was trying to set up relationships with Ringling College and St. Lucas. So it was a real exchange. That's how it started. And then it kind of transformed into a more immersive experience, which is what we thought about last summer with the mapping project, to make it a more intense experience, 1 week to produce something, and yet still be able to share, ideas and living situation between people from different schools and countries and faculty as well. It's an exercise, really, to let creative students, artistic, students respond to a site that they're familiar with in one instance and they're not familiar with in another. So that's the in and out of context. What they produced was, in Antwerp, an individual response to the site, which was near a train station, and train stations tend to be very interesting areas. They're kind of contested. Many people lay claim to some aspect of that neighborhood with shops or selling things on the street, and it's a real hodgepodge of multinational or international group there. So they were all responding to that. And it was interesting to see that they were staying right nearby in a youth hostel that had a meeting room upstairs, so everything was, walkable. And each student was grappling, I think, for quite a few days about how they were going to handle all this, because it seemed like a huge amount of data, information, and sensory stuff coming at you. But they all, through the critique process, because we'd meet every night, and they'd have to have something up on the wall. And that was a very important part. The research and critiquing, I think, really helped it a lot. Gradually, everybody came up with a concept, and then it was realized in a kind of performance on the final day. It all happened in one day, out on the street, which was it was fascinating. Kasia, who's a graphic design student from Ringling College, decided she was going to try something different in Antwerp and not use graphic or visual material, but to use sound. And I really applauded her for that. She went to the site and every day did recording and really paid attention and interacted with, what was going on around her, but captured it through sound. And then she created a very compelling CD that had, I believe, 8 tracks. Then the performance was her creating a cover art and a physical CD and handing them out on the street. Charlotte was a student at the Royal Academy and a wonderful artist, and her concept was to transform a sort of an empty storefront along the Carnotstraat. And she bought all kinds of kind of kitsch elements, a pink carpet. She asked one of her friends to kind of model, and her response was, I think she had encounters on the street during the week that she wasn't totally comfortable with, people whistling at her, that kind of thing. So she came up with this idea of undress me with your eyes, and then put a male figure in the space. And then she created the environment with all kinds of props and things like that. So it was very interactive, and her piece drew quite a big crowd. Harry's project was, he was an environmental art student from Aalto University in Helsinki, and his project was fascinating as well. He would just observe situations, sort of mundane or banal situations every day, and write down in a notebook like two men arguing over something in the car. And then he created a series of these compelling phrases and printed them on t-shirts. His performance was, he had, I believe, 17 or 18 t-shirts. He would go back to where he recorded or where the conversations or observations happened, and he would just stand there. And then after a certain period of time, he would take the shirt off and hand it to a bystander. Ava is a wonderful student from the Royal Academy, and she's an excellent dresswoman. And she created a response which was sort of a kitsch reaction to the art that you saw on the windows and some of the storefronts. So it was challenging the notion of high art. And she would create these fantastic kind of tropical landscapes or things as a response to the cold and kind of gray days that we were having there in Antwerp. And then we just put them all through the street. These small kitschy paintings were hung and all along the corridor there. And sometimes people didn't even notice them because they blended in so well. So it was sort of a statement on that kind of aesthetic and how common it is, and you know how she could blend in with that in the environment. Karen is a wonderful photographer, and she's a student at Ringling College, and her project was, again, through walking and documenting along the street that we were observing. She would make a photograph, say, one point in time during the day, and then come back hours later the next day, and there may have been a bike there the day before and it was gone. So she was kind of doing a study of absence and presence, and asking people like to look at the site as they were standing there when she did her performance, and then look at it how she had photographed it. And then she also asked people to write a written response to some broad concepts that she had. So that was an interactive part for her. And some of the responses she kept on a piece of cardboard. It was that was a highly interactive project as well. Sala's an environmental artist, also from Helsinki, Aalto University, and she had a response to the zoo, and it was about the caged energy of the animals, you know, and how they would pace back and forth. So she decided she would sort of stage an event in front of the train station where she was simply walking back and forth very deliberately as if she was a caged spirit or soul. And she had also brought up during the critiques reaction to the red light district, how the women were kind of in these cages or, you know, windows, and so trying to make a connection between those two sites. Sarah is a student at St. Lucas, and she did a very conceptual piece where she analyzed the site. She worked with a lot of sort of data, and then how to visualize the data. And what she analyzed was how many empty buildings were along the street, or things for lease or whatever. So she did a phony sale to artists. She offered these empty buildings or unoccupied buildings to her list of artist friends or people that she knew, and said they could own the building. So she created the list. She had, you know, people would respond, yes, we'd like that building at such and such address. And then she created these nameplates out of or copper, and she put their name on it and the address, and then attached it to the building. So, and then she also generated, like, you know, charts and graphs from some of her research, which I think is a really interesting part of this whole process, is how it's then documented. And the idea is down the road we're going to collate a lot of these projects into a book or some kind of a summary. Andrea was a graphic design student from St. Lucas, and she studied the site again very carefully. She went to the tourist bureau very early and got quite a few maps, like the kind of maps that they hand out to people as soon as they arrive. And she cut out the area that the site we were analyzing was mapped out. She cut that part out. So she was handing out during her performance the map like a tourist agent would be doing, except the map had this loss in the area where the people were, and kind of charted people's responses when they opened the map and the space was gone. So it was a very interesting kind of response. She also had collected quite a few materials, and her wall in the critique room was amazing. They're not going to change these neighborhoods in 1 week as young artists, or make any kind of profound impact, but I think for them it could be profound, and that's the hope, that maybe they get an idea of what collaboration can produce, what creative solutions can produce, and I think that's probably the best part of it.